Good evening, children classmates. My name is Andres Rivera. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, my life. Well, let's start. I'm 36 years old. I live in Medellin, so I'm registered in SEAT Medellin. I'm an English teacher. I have been a teacher for around 14 years. I work in an English center on Saturday mornings, the same place where I learned English. But that's not my main job. I work for a multinational company that develops software for emergency calls. Mm, they work in the sector of public safety. Well, I work there 9 hours, almost all day. But I also teach private classes. I teach my coworkers at 6 o'clock in the morning for 2 hours. And at night, I teach a group of friends. I give private classes to them, English classes. I am married to an English teacher and a French teacher from the University of Antioquia. Her name is Karina Mariana Andrade. She's a very good woman, hardworking. What else? I got a lot of hobbies, but it's very sad. Unfortunately, I can't practice any of them. I love watching television, watching TV series, going to the cinema. I like learning new things related to computer, software. I like drawing, doing exercise. But as I told you, I don't have time for that because the little time I have is to study and work, you know, in my private classes. Now, concerning the reflection, I gotta tell you, well, I must admit that I learned a lot with these two consultants, right? Although I have loved grammar all my life and I consider I am good at it, I never thought grammar could be seen from all those aspects mentioned. I took grammar as the way of learning structures to make your written and oral speech accurate, clean, and formal. Now I see I tend to use a more structuralist method when teaching. Talking about the connection between the text, 5 ways of looking at grammar, with a video by Jack Richard, consultant for methodology and linguistics. They are linked because they complement each other. Grammar accounts for knowledge of the sentence structure, its components by isolation, the morphemes, the graphemes, and parts of a speech, the meaning and words carrying context, and also the fluency, accuracy, and complexity of the language. When teaching a foreign language, all these aspects matter and must be taught to make the language communication as natural as possible. Uh, Now, talking about the video, I really found it interesting. I totally agree with him, with the person with, uh, what's the name of this guy? Right, Jack Richard, yeah. I totally agree with him. I gotta tell you that the process in the English Center where I teach take into account these three aspects, the fluency, the accuracy, and the complexity, right? And all this is done in a process. For example, in the basic levels there, students are not fluent at all because they are just acquiring the language. They are acquiring structures, they are acquiring vocabulary, tenses, and so when they speak, they are very guided by the teacher. The teacher tells them what to say, what to ask, and that hampers in a way the fluency, and they worry much about how accurate they can speak the language. Well, through the levels, they develop this fluency with a lot of practice and learning a lot of vocabulary, as I said before, and structures, and through a lot of repetition. So when they feel confident, they can balance these two aspects: how to speak fluently and how to be accurate when they speak. And finally, in the last levels, which is advanced levels, they learn more complex grammar, more advanced grammar, and this grammar is going to help them uh, move from these guided classes, this guided speech they have that is only question and answer. Like in basic and intermediate levels, they just answer questions teacher asks them, but very punctual questions. For example, what did you do yesterday? So they have to answer, and the teacher already know what they're gonna say. So they say, I went to the cinema, or I went to a restaurant, I visited a friend, or and you make a lot of correction, but the answers are still guided by the teacher. But in advanced levels, they are asked to talk about social issues, for example, and they have to support their ideas. This is something really complex because here is where the student develop their fluency and the accuracy with the complex grammar they learned, and they move from this basic vocabulary to a more complex one, right? So it's really interesting because I really felt identified when I saw the video, because it's the same process there in the ABC, the place where I teach. Well, this is my reflection about the text and the video. Thank you very much for listening, and bye bye. Have a good night.